Well, I certainly hope that you are staying warm. Hi there, it's Brian and Ray in the Toasty Buzz TV studio tonight.
Kind of, sort of.
You know, it's warmer than at my house, no doubt about that. Welcome to our humble little show where we help you get the beekeeping knowledge that you need to take good care of your favorite pollinators. And cold temperatures certainly on everybody's mind these days.
It's cold out there.
I've mentioned on several occasions that my parents are down in Baton Rouge, and they were sending me pictures of 4, 5, 6 inches of snow.
Snowmageddon.
It was crazy. What is it they call it now? The Gulf of America down in Pensacola. I was watching some of the video coming in from people driving around Pensacola, just snow everywhere, snow at the beach. And I know
no sand.
Only
snow.
The sand was covered with the snow.
Yeah.
And I realized that all of us have taken precautions to keep our bees safe and warm this time of year, but you can't help but wonder, have I done enough? Have I done enough to keep my bees warm? Well, the good news is Ray Sivitz is here to walk us step by step through all the different things that you can do to make sure your bees have a happy and warm and safe winter time. Of course, Ray is the owner of Mountain Sweet Honey. Mountain Sweet Honey, the sponsor of tonight's Buzz TV live stream, mountainsweethoney.com. And anytime we have Mountain Sweet Honey involved, there's usually free bees.
Free bees.
We're going to be giving away free bees tonight. I'll tell you more about that in just a moment, but I want to get into it. Ray, welcome to the show. Ray Sivitz, it's all yours.
Brian, it's good to be here. And folks, it is cold. I believe when I came into the studio here, it was, I guess it was in the upper 20s, and the wind was blowing, and I'm sure that the temperatures were well into the mid 20s with the breeze and all. Tonight we're going to really just spend a lot of time on what we're going to do to take care of our bees, because a lot of us are here in the Southeast and we don't see snow, and even my friends down in Destin, Florida, had snow on the roads, which you couldn't even see their grass there. So we're going to take some time, bring them up to speed of what our other customer base up in the Mason-Dixon line and above deal with every winter. My aunt, she wrote me, she said, I thought this was supposed to be a warm winter, and she lives in just outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, in Bucks County, and they've seen their cold this year up there. So let's get started. Let's talk about the bee season update. Even though we've had some really frigid weather, we're looking to see a rebound in the coming weeks, is what the forecast is looking like. And our bees are all kept down into the magic triangle of South Georgia, where there's really no hurricanes that come through. If they do, they're slightly to the right or slightly to the left. They do get a lot of rain, and it is a swamp area down there. But right now, the yards all look good. What few weak hives have been seen, they're being integrated into the stronger hives. The queen rearing, this is what really is a big deal in selling packages of bees, is having great queens. And so what we're going to be doing is beginning our queen rearing on February the 15th, like we do every year. And we're watching for temperatures under 40 degrees. If there's temperatures under 40 degrees for any length of time, there's a good chance that these little small queen boxes that are only about this wide by about this tall, they will freeze very, very quickly because there's only about a cupful of bees in with that queen. And that's what just makes queen rearing really, really good. Obviously, the bees aren't going to be flying if there's really cold weather and rainy weather. So the 15th through March 1st is just a real special time for us to be watching those temps, watching those rain days, to make sure that we're sending out quality queens. And typically what happens is not one, but all bee companies will shut down and delay the season by 1 week or 2 weeks if that is needed to ensure that quality bees or quality queens are going out, and instead of having a dead queen that just lays a little bit and then is done. So that is the reason why we really look at February the 15th through March the 1st. Excuse me for a minute here.
While Ray is obviously, we talked about the cold temperatures. We are going to tell you a little bit about the Beekeepers Boot Camp coming up February the 8th. You may want to go ahead and mark that down on your calendar, February the 8th. We're going to get into that in just a few minutes. Lots and lots of questions already pouring in, Ray. I know we'll get to those here as the program progresses, but tell us more about the bee season.
Let's talk a little bit, Brian, how people can enter to win that package of bees. Let's talk about that here.
Yeah, posing a good question, coming up with a good question, leaving that in the comments either on YouTube or Facebook. You might see a little crawler at the bottom of the screen. Just follow those instructions, and that is your entry. So a good, well-written question that qualifies you for the free package of bees to be given away at the end of tonight's show.
All right. So we talked a little bit about the cold weather, and rainy weather. The queens are not going to fly, nor the drones. So that could really hurt on the mating part of the queens in the queen yards. And typically there can be 500 plus queens in a yard that we're trying to get mated. So just really, really super critical. But again, we're looking still at good weather coming at us, and we will be giving an update as we know it in February, especially the 3rd and 4th week of February. We'll be giving updates on the queen yards on that there. Brian, you know how many queens we're going to go through this season?
I'm just going to take a guess and say 6,203.
You're way off.
Okay, by how much?
30,000 plus.
Wow.
All right. So that's a lot of queens.
Does that represent the number of packages that go out? 30,000?
Well, it's packages. It's also nukes. It's also just standalone queens that people need. And we're planning at somewhere right around about 33,000.
Oh, that is fantastic.
So 33,000 is kind of our max that we'll have for this coming season. And folks, that is a lot of queens. All right. So let's change where we're going here currently. I want to talk about winter and your bees. Let's talk about water source first. Your bees need water. Your bees need water year round. They need that for hydration purposes. If they don't have water, it's going to really, really set your bees back, and you're going to lose some bees, especially during the wintertime. So we want to put sugar water out there for the bees to have. Brian, let's put up that first slide here. There we go. All right. So when we say 2-to-1 for the sugar to water ratio, what we're doing is we're going to make 2 of these, and these are quart ball containers. And we're going to just fill up 2 of those with sugar, and we'll put 2 there, and then 1 of hot water. And that hot water cannot be boiled. If we put it and boil it, it will make up a different crystallization, and you don't want that because the bees cannot digest it if you try to boil your sugar water.
Changes the molecular structure,
the makeup of it there. Okay, so when we're looking at wintertime, it is a 2-to-1 sugar to water ratio. Now, when we go into spring, summer, and fall, we're going to go 1 sugar to 1 water. And so that's how you figure it on up. Now, if you got like 20 hives, then you just put 20 of the sugar and 20 of the water, hot water. And as you can see, this person here that's making it has a big old wooden spoon. If you're making a 5-gallon bucket of it, you'll probably want to get a sheetrock paddle onto a electric drill and run that in there, and it will really stir it up nice, and the sugar will dissolve on that there.
Does it matter what type of sugar is employed? I see in the picture you just got regular store-bought sugar.
Okay, so you want to have like Domino sugar, table sugar,
Dixie Crystals, anything
Dixie
like that?
Crystals. You don't want brown sugar.
Okay.
You don't want sorghum.
Confectioners, any of that stuff.
Sugar, none of that. So that's what we're looking at when we're talking about 2-to-1 and 1-to-1 sugar water ratios. So for you newbies, that is very, very important. We're going to be running, everybody in North America right now should be running a 1.5 sugar. So that would be 1.5 to 1 if you're here in the South, or if you're above the Mason-Dixon line, you're going to run a 2-to-1. And that's 2-to-1 right there. All right. I hope that's clear as mud on that there.
You know, you've been talking about this for a long time as we've been doing Buzz TV, and I think having this little illustration helps me to understand that concept a little bit better. So Thanks for going that route.
So you'd be looking at, if you want to do gallons, just put 1 gallon of sugar, 1 gallon of hot water.
Yeah, makes sense.
And the picture there can be interchanged with how much ever you want to have. Now, also, if you don't want to make sugar water this time of the year, we have sugar waters ready to go online. You can order those through our Bee Health side, and they'll be shipped right to you by the gallon.
All right, tell me more about that. I'm not sure that I'm totally locked in on what that product is.
Brian, it's a new product that we have. It mimics the nectar that you would find during the spring months. It is a 1-to-1 sugar ratio, so it's not 2-to-1. So you'd want to use this during the late winter, early spring buildup. And for those south of the Mason-Dixon line, you would want to begin somewhere around about mid-March doing the 1-to-1.
And as we mentioned, Mountain Sweet Honey, the sponsor of Buzz TV. So if I go to mountainsweethoney.com, what is it I'm typing in the search to find out more about that product? Just the word syrup. Okay. All right. Very helpful.
All right. So going back to where we started on this, hydration. If your bees don't get that hydration, especially, and it's really critical this time of the year, you're going to really set your bees back, and you're going to lose some bees through the winter months. And, Brian, this is the time of year that the phones just blow up, is January and February. Excuse me, the bees start running out of their winter stores, and we as beekeepers kind of put it on a neutral of going out to disturb them because we don't want to chill them. So the best way to do that is go behind the hive and gently try to pick it up with your hands to see if there's a lot of weight there. If there's not a lot of weight, then you got to get some feed on them quickly, sugar water or syrup that we sell here at the store. So either or, but this is a real critical time to be going out and at least picking up the rear of the hive, just an inch or two, just so you can feel the weight. If it's real heavy, that means there's still honey in there. If it's light, then that means the honey stores are gone and your bees are on very, very limited time on that. So save your bees. Make sure that they're being fed during this time of the year. Brian, do we have any questions on feeding?
Yeah, well, we do, and I was going to use this as the launching point because you were talking about lifting up the hives, and maybe that is the answer. Several people have expressed how often should they be opening up their hives for fear that they're letting all of the heat out during the winter. And so maybe that concept of lifting the hive is one way to not constantly be lifting up the top of your beehive. Any thoughts on how often you should actually visibly inspect
Okay.
the hive?
All right. So yes, you don't want to chill your bees. If you get a day that's 50, 55 degrees, that is a great time to go out and just pop the top off, take a look inside the hive. Now, this is something you don't want to be running a parade through there and taking a lot of time. You want to get in, get out, 2 minutes max, just do a quick inspection, then button it back on up and be on your way. Now, Brian, let's go to this next slide here. There's several ways that you can feed. And the one, Brian, this kind of answers the question for the person that just answered about chilling the bees. If you use a Ceracell feeder, either an 8 or 10 frame, this will allow the feed to get to your bees. The bees can come up through on this ladder here. Let me change the color on this if I can figure it out.
Yeah, you're drawing there in the upper left-hand corner if you're watching, so you'll see there.
So you have each corner that the bees can come up to. And then here in the center, a lot of bees can get up there. What is good about this feeder is it has rungs that if the bees fall into the syrup, then they can climb back out. So there's minimal loss that's on that. Now, if you get to where you want to do a dry feed with pollen patties, you can take each of these X's where you see entry points, you can take those out and then put the pollen patties right here on each side for the bees to eat on during this time of the year. Now, what I would prefer to be done with pollen patties is putting them down below this so that you can run syrup and or pollen patties at the same time. So that's what I would encourage everybody. And when you get into this, it doesn't allow the cold air to go back in to the hive itself because this is sitting on top of the first medium super that has the honey and the brood. They're right close there by. Brian, is there any other questions that we have?
Some folks have just been asking for a little clarification on the 2-to-1. You're recommending that for people that are north of the Mason-Dixon line and something different in the south, or is it temperature dependent? What more can you elaborate on that?
All right, on a 2-to-1, Brian, and on a 1-to-1, the minimal freezing on that, if my memory serves me correct, is negative 21 degrees. And then you will start seeing the sugar water starting to crystallize during that part. And that would be on an external feeder, such as a Boardman feeder. And I believe I've got, one right here for everybody to look at. This is a Boardman feeder that sits on the outside of the hive, and you would fill it right here with your sugar water. You can see it outside where it doesn't get any cold weather coming into the hive. But the bees still have to come in through this area, and it is going to be cool for them. But they can get in there, drink, and then go right back into the cluster itself.
And of course, if you see this beginning to crystallize, we're going to talk about some other strategies to protect your bees and obviously protect their water source from freezing as you continue watching tonight on Buzz TV.
Now, another form of feeding, folks, and let's go back to this frame feeder here. The frame feeder allows bees to go down in, and it does have rungs for the bees to get back out if they fall into the sugar water. Now, this has rubber bands, real heavy duty rubber bands that keep this wood block in place. And it will take some time to get these off to fill it fast, or you'll just have to pour it through the holes there, the 2 ladders that are set up there. So this one disturbs the hive the most. And going back to this one here, which is the Boardman feeder, is the least intrusive. But you're limited. A quart or a 5-pound glass jar is about the only thing that is the largest on that, and that's about a quart and a half, if I remember right. And then you have somewhere right around 2 and 2.25 gallons that you can put in on the Sericel top feeder. So
you have to be committed with the Boardman feeder to going out into the apiary on a more consistent basis.
Yes,
because it doesn't hold the volume that the Sericel or the and tell me again the name on the one that you just showed that goes in the Hive.
Okay, this one's a Boardman feeder.
Okay, and then the next one?
This is a frame feeder.
So if I wanted to go on the website to find the frame feeder, I just type in frame feeder in search. Okay, I'm learning. I'm learning.
All right, good.
Hope you guys are too.
Good. All right, so let's go back and get my computer here turned back on. Okay, so we've talked about feeding. We know why we need to feed. And if we don't feed, then we really make our bees suffer this time of the year and potentially die out. And one thing that you'll always know if they froze out is if each of the bees' heads are in the comb and with their back tails facing towards us when we look at them on a frame. So, and then they're going to be clustered outside of that. So when you pull up the other frame, they're going to come tumbling down to the bottom board. And that is a classic sign of freeze outs on that side. All right, now let's look at pollen patties. Pollen patties are really, really good for our bees. They contain, of course, sugar that helps the digestive tract of our bees, pollen, essential oils, and other essential oils such as lemongrass and tea tree oil are really the big kingpins that we use when we make our pollen patties. All right, so these nutrients for the bees, they need them for their guts. They got to clean out their gut. They got to keep it going, especially when we get closer to spring. So these long winter days, they're just kind of really cooped up inside the hive, and there's nothing better for them than to eat on the pollen patties. Now, one thing, Brian, that we do find when bees are bored and they can't get out and about, what do you think they do?
Well, they don't do TikTok.
No. All right, I'm going to save you. They start with their mandibles and start eating at the wood. And you'll see that gnawing of the wood where they made a small opening into a larger one. And it just isn't one, it could be 100 or so.
So they do this when they're bored.
Yeah.
What do we do to entertain them so they're not tearing up pollen patties?
Yeah.
Now, I do have a question I want to throw up here, Ray, and I don't know if this is the same thing as a pollen patty or not. Forgive my ignorance, but that's why we are here to learn together.
Okay, find it. Everybody can buy. It can be used. What I would suggest, though, is that you add, because that's really just a sugar patty, a soft sugar patty at best. And I would say pick up some pollen. We got it on our website, and you can mix it in there, and the bees will really love you for it. We also have the tea tree oil and lemongrass, so you can put a couple of drops of that in, depending on how big of pollen patties or how many you're mixing together. And I've seen folks use all kinds of heavy mixers because, hey, it's a lot of sugar that's there, and it has to be compressed so that it becomes like a block on that there. Brian, do we have another question?
Mark is asking if there's a difference concerning the protein percentage in winter patties or patties that might be used the rest of the year. What can you say about the protein?
Okay,
content?
The protein side is typically 4% and 15%. 4% is best used this time of the year when it's cold, and the 15% is when you'll use that is during the spring and summer months when there's dearths, or especially in the early spring, Brian, when the trees have set back a little bit because a cold winter air is still coming in and surprising the weatherman and surprising us as beekeepers, and not alone but our bees. But yes, the more pollen protein that you can get in there, the better off it is during the spring months and early spring months, especially. And also late summer is really good too. You have a,
Yeah, this one might be a complicated question. I'm not sure. I'm sort of reading it the same time that I'm throwing it up here. William writes in, and he says he has had his girls set up. I assume he means his bees. He had put 8 pounds of patties on top of the frames. They were healthy one day, dead the next, and he wonders if the moisture from the cluster melted them and dripped on the bees, killing them. So
oh yeah,
let's
yeah.
talk about safe fondant use, and you may have already alluded to that with the Ceracell, but
Yeah.
have you ever encountered something similar?
Yeah, when it comes to pollen patties, it's amazing what the bees can break out with their mandibles. They can really take some of the toughest sugar or pollen patties that have dried out and get it converted over and digested. So what it sounds like is this fondant was a little too moist to go in there. And yes, when it starts dripping down on the bees, that also means it's getting on brood uh, as it goes down through there. And you don't want a big fondant lake at the bottom of the hive. So,
No.
because what will happen next is the freezing will happen, and you got a frozen fondant patty down there, and it will help chill the bees rather than help
Okay, that
bees
makes
on that
sense.
side.
Do you have any good recipes for a pollen patty? Have you ever made your own or had any
I
experience with
have
that?
not made my own because of time.
Okay.
Time is why we offer pollen patties here, to save everybody time, because you got to get the right ratios, especially if you're going to put essential oils in, and you don't want it. You want it very cakey, where you can press it and let it dry out before you put it into your hives. So it is a little time uh, taking to do it, and that's the main reason why I have not done it myself.
Keep those questions coming in, folks. As you can see there at the bottom of the screen, details on how to get entered to win a package of freebies that obviously will be coming your way in the spring based on the zone that you live in and what is the best time to ship out Italian honeybees to you. So ask your questions. We'll try to get to as many of them as we can tonight.
Well,
And
let's talk a little bit about our bee inventory right now, Brian. Folks, we have sold out of our Russian hybrids completely for the 2025 season. We have sold out of the Caucasians for the 2025 season. And we're right now honing down on the Carniolan bees. And we've
by
we've got,
honing down, do you mean running out?
yeah, running out. And we've got limited supplies on those. I think it's 4 dates that we have this year on Carniolans, Brian. And then our first date and second date is starting to really narrow down. And I would look to see us sell out of those first 2 dates here in the coming days. So inventory wise, we're way ahead of schedule on selling bees, selling out a lot on our specialty bees. And so if you're looking for Carniolans, get your order in tonight. Don't wait, because they'll be sold out before you know it on that side.
And
Okay.
if you're not already connected with us through the email newsletter that you can sign up for at mountainsweethoney.com or connected on our Facebook page, Mountain Sweet Honey Co., I encourage you to do so. That's where a lot of this information is relayed in real time. So if you want to see when dates get sold out, or if we're coming down to the wire and just about to run out of a particular breed of honeybees, those are the 2 best places I can think of for staying up to date on bee season information. So again, get on the newsletter at mountainsweethoney.com. A pop-up shows up on the screen allowing you to put in your email address. You'll get notified of all sorts of tips and tricks and Buzz TV shows, live streams that we're doing, and occasional flash sales that Ray likes to run. But make sure to connect with us so that you don't miss out on getting the bees that you want.
All right. So, Brian, let's put up this last slide before we move on here. Okay. So we have a frame feeder right here that's getting filled up with syrup there. And then right here is the pollen patty. And you can see that it's in the center of the hive. Now, the reason why it's in the center of the hive is that's where the cluster is mostly located in most hives. So this is a 10 frame. It was cut down to 8 frames with this feeder that we have right here. So that's what we want to make sure that we have going on in the hive. We do not want to place it in the front or in the rear, right there in the center, so the bees can get to it easy, right where the cluster is, and let them feed, and then get back out of there as quick as you can on that there. All right. Now let's go to our next topic here, and that's protecting our bees. And Brian, you can go ahead and take that slide off there. Protecting our bees with sheltering methods. And I believe Brian said there's already been a few questions that have come in regarding that, and we'll get to those in just a second. But it's never too late to protect our bees, especially you all in the Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio area. And sometimes it even goes over into Illinois. You get some really big ice events that come, and with that northern flow of very Arctic air, and before you know it, your hives are really frozen up. So, making sure that you're protecting your bees and keeping as much warm air into the hive is very, very important. And Brian, let's go ahead and throw that slide up that we were just looking at here. This is a hive wrap, and this hive wrap is a one piece. And what it does is it just slides right over. You take your outer cover off and just slide it over your hive. And this one here, it has the height of a deep and 2 mediums on the inside. And what we normally do is put a little nail right there to open it up so the bees can fly in and out. And it's just a very, very small opening on that. Hive wraps are really, really protective. It gives you an R15 rating on it, and it's black, so it does heat up during the daylight time and helps put heat back into the hive itself, especially if it's a bright, sunshiny day on that there.
Do you have any thoughts on what temperature these wraps are effective? I did see someone in the chat that maybe had experienced some really cold winters, and I know we're going to talk about additional strategies to employ here.
Mm-hmm.
But do you have a good sense on these are good for areas that experienced overnight lows in the 20s, or with the R factor that you mentioned, would they be good to 0 degrees? I have no frame of reference for that.
Until this year, where we have seen, even here locally in Georgia, and we're up in the northeast Georgia, where North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia come together. I would have never said that our folks would need these hive wraps here, but we've seen more days in the 20s in the nighttime hours, and then during the daytime just getting above 33 or 34 degrees. So I would definitely say anytime you're seeing weather under 30 degrees on a consistent basis, a hive wrap really does help, and it will protect your bees through the whole season on that there.
Any thoughts about how low temperatures can go and bees can survive? Have any studies come across your desk on bees surviving extremely cold temperatures?
Well, I've had some good feedback from our Canadian beekeepers up on the east side of Canada, and they see some really, really bad northern Arctic winds on a consistent basis. And what they have begun to do, Brian, is moving their hives into barns to offer that 360 degree shelter, and allowing the bees to defecate, go out and defecate and come back in. So if you do that, you're going to have these little yellow blobs inside your barn all over everything. And so you would want to take out vehicles and stuff like that so that they don't defecate on those. It is a little hard to get it off the paint once it's dried and all. It will come off, but it just takes a little bit of elbow grease to get off the bee poop on that side.
Okay. Keep those questions coming in. We're going to continue to answer those throughout the next 25 minutes or so. We just crossed over 100 people that are viewing the live stream. We're so thankful to each and every one of you. Do us a favor, do all those things you hear all the other cool kids tell you to do. We're not cool, so we can't say smash the like button and blow things up. Let's be incendiary about
Nikki's not here tonight.
Yeah, we miss Nikki, so hello to Nikki if you're watching the live stream tonight. But do the things that can share this with the algorithm so that more people can find out about how cool beekeeping is, even if Ray and I aren't.
All right, so let's go back to this slide again here, Brian. So when we're looking at this, folks, this outer cover, here's something that a lot of beekeepers don't know, is this can slide either forwards or backwards. And you want to push this back towards you. So this is where you would stand with the hive. You want to pull it back towards you. That way it will close off the inner cover notch that is for ventilation, and your warmth within the hive will stay confined within the hive there. If you have it going in this direction, then it's going to be open and you're losing all of your heat within the hive itself. So it looks like I have done what my young son has done, is made a lot of gibberish on here. So let me get that all erased here. All right. So we want to definitely make sure that this outer cover is going that way. All right. Clear enough.
Somebody was mentioning silver insulation, I guess maybe something that's of a reflective material. Do you favor the black over silver, or is silver even an option?
The silver has its good side, and mostly it's used for housing. This here is a glass fiberglass as insulation inside of this heavy duty poly. It's a poly exterior, so you can use this for several years in a row and over again. The silver is more of a reflective out than a reflective back in. Now, I guess you could flip it around and cut out four rectangles and then duct tape it, but you still have those corners that are going to leak in using that silver line, or it's an aluminum lined styrofoam.
Okay.
I've used it in my barn on that.
And is styrofoam a good insulator? I saw that question come through the chat.
This top on this example here is a plastic with styrofoam on the inside, so it does work. And on the we don't carry this type of a plastic cover because it does, when you have the sun here shining on it during the summer months, it makes this brittle, and at the same time you'll see some warpage. So that is the reason why we do not carry that particular item.
Good. Very helpful. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you much, Ray.
All right. So let me clean up that in case we got to come back. There we go. All right. So we've talked about the hive wraps. We've talked about bringing the outer cover back so it seals up the vent for the inner cover. Now, there's also other things that we can do, and that's putting up wind buffers. And Brian, let's go to that next here. Wind buffers, I'm a big fan of. You could make this out of wood, or in this example here, you got the hay that serves as the buffer. And this is probably true north going this way. So this beekeeper here has from east to west here covered. So if you have a northeastern that's coming in, it's covered. It's not, the winds are not going to mess with this hive. Now, one of the things that that you'll see here is this does not go up equal to the height of these hives. It goes up and above. So when we are trying to protect our hives, we've got to take a look at, keeping that wind up and above the hives. So this beekeeper here has roughly 6 inches above. So when that wind really comes, it's not going to be on there. And I think we all had fun as kids and young adults of going out and kind of making an igloo.
Mm-hmm.
This is basically what you're doing here, except no top on it.
Would you recommend a top? I think I've seen a picture in the past where you actually had a top going over some bales of hay. Is that still a thing?
You could, in this example here, you would add bales here, add bales here. Now notice there's a hive here. That if you're not looking for it, you don't see it. So you got 3 hives, 1, 2, and 3. So you got to bring this up. And then what I would do next is put a board across and then put some tarps over that, and then put some cinder blocks on it. And you would have a cover on the top, on the sides, and in the rear.
Okay, makes sense.
All right. Now, you could even go further, and let me erase what I've got here. All right. So what could be done here next is putting a tube, like a PVC tube, Brian, 2 inches in diameter, going through hay stacked in front of it. So this would have all hay with a top and tubes coming out, a 2-inch tube coming out so the bees can go out and defecate and then come back in.
So you're just providing extra wall of insulation.
Yeah. So now you got 360 on that. But you got to use an OSB type of 4x8 when you do the top so that you don't have warpage.
And we don't like warpage around here.
Yeah. All right. Let's get this erased here. All right.
In just a few moments, folks, we'll be telling you about our National Beekeepers Boot Camp scheduled for February the 8th. So if you're interested in a comprehensive day of training and learning, you'll definitely want to stick around for that. And then towards the end of the hour, we're going to announce the winner of the free bees. Keep asking those questions. And here at the end of the show, we're going to try to go through as many of those as we can.
All right, Brian, let's go to our next slide here. All right, so the next topic that we're going to talk about is wintertime Varroa treatments. This is the only time that Varroa can be wiped out 100% because the queen is not laying that many eggs, and there's very limited brood within the hive. So what you would do is you'd make an oxalic acid paste. You could even put a little bit of sugar in there and warm water along with it, and then drizzle it on the top of the top bars within the brood box, wherever the bees are, and where they're clustered is where you're going to put it on those bars, and that will really, really get you strong going into the early spring months on that there. So December, January, and February, early February for those here in the South are good months to go on ahead and do the oxalic acid drizzle on that there. And
is it sold as oxalic acid drizzle, or how does the product sold?
Okay, you see the syringe there, and and you got to wear gloves because this will make your hands burn a little bit if you get them on your hands. So using gloves, we do not carry this just because of liability issues. So this is an option for you to do. You can buy it almost anywhere on the internet, but we do not sell this particular one.
And that's really where I was going with the question, was what you needed to look for, but you're telling me go somewhere else to get the oxalic acid. All right.
So let's talk about the next thing here, and that's mouse guards. Brian, mice love to get into beehives.
And they love to get into my engine block. I had a $350 repair because they love the warmth of the engine at night.
Yep.
And they found some wires they like to chew on. So I'm out $350, and I certainly would not want them getting into my beehive.
Well, mice can create a mess, and they can get in there and destroy some of the honey stores. But this is a little contraption that has been made, and you could actually use this year round, and your bees can go in and out. And if you need to close it up, you just flip it around, and this on the top, here we go. This on the top here allows ventilation, but then flip it around, and then you've got this as an entrance guard for your hive. So you can go either way on that, and it is great news for your bees, because let's just say, Brian, that you have a European hornet, they cannot get through these small little passages. So this is a good way of keeping out the European hornet on that.
Would you use this product outside of the winter? Would you use this product in spring and summer?
Yeah, because that's when the mice are going to come in, most likely. During the fall, winter, and early spring. And those are field mice normally.
Got it.
All right. So like I said, you can close this up by flipping it up to the top side, and that will help you with the headaches of mice.
Speaking of flipping things up, I'm going to throw a quick question up here from Deb. Wants to know about flipping the inner cover during winter. Have you ever heard of anybody flipping the inner cover?
The inner cover always should have a notch. Sometimes you can buy them notchless, and it really does not allow ventilation at that point. But no, I always believe in leaving the notch facing upward, not downward, but upward. That will allow more of a defense for your bees during times that various predators can come in, such as a European hornet can come through there, and it allows another 6 to 7 inches with more guard bees. Mm-hmm. So I would always say leave the notch side up on that there.
Marcia mentioned that she did buy some of the insulated wraps last year, and she's going to be purchasing some more. The temps are going down. She's keeping her fingers crossed. Thank you, Marcia, for purchasing those. And if you need more, mountainsweethoney.com.
Now we've got some 10 frame hive wraps still available, very limited. We might even be sold out of the 8 frame size. So get your orders in if you want to take advantage of keeping your bees warm during this time of the year.
We mentioned styrofoam earlier. Alan wants to know, would you recommend it inside the hive?
No.
All right.
Okay. So bees love wood. They seal the wood up with propolis. Bringing styrofoam in is not natural for the bees. And we find that bees even reject plastic to a certain degree. And it's just not recommended at all to bring styrofoam inside the hive.
Speaking of plastic, that was a corollary question from nobody. And I mean nobody. He said, yeah, so you've answered that question. They do prefer the wooden hive.
Yes. I would, when I've been to some of the expos, and I was up to the North American Honeybee Expo, and I saw a lot of European folks coming in trying to sell the plastic hives, and there's just not many takers on those. It's a new technology where they have put plastic and then styrofoam and then plastic to encase it. So it's just not natural for the bees, and thus they've rejected it more often than not.
I think this is a question that you are going to answer next, so I'll go ahead and throw it up from
Okay.
North Georgia Outdoors. Are people using screen bottom boards during the winter? How do the bees survive if this is used?
All right. Well, let's go to the slide here, Brian. Okay, so for those that don't understand what a screen bottom board is, it's a mechanical way of treating for varroa. And what happens is the varroa is picked off from the bees and it falls. And it falls through the screen that's right here and falls onto the sticky board that runs underneath. Now, I highly recommend keeping this sticky board in at all times. There's folks that believe their bees need ventilation, and I would say no to that simply because the honey needs to get as much of the moisture out until it hits 18%. And then it becomes honey at that point. So, to make a long story short here, this is a board. It's a plastic corrugated board, and it does have some R factors to it. But if you start getting into the negative numbers at night, this is not going to have the R factor that you're going to need on that. So putting it simple is if you are in the negatives below zero, you really need to swap out your screen bottom board for a solid bottom board unconditionally at that point. There is no way that you can get the R factor high enough on a screen bottom board for survivability into the winter months if you're running negative numbers for any bit of time, let alone all night.
Thank you much, Ray. Would now be a good time to talk about the boot camp?
Yeah, we got the boot camp coming, folks, and this is a fun time that I get to interact with our beekeepers, and we bring you in at 9:00 in the morning, and the girls, they bring out all kinds of donuts and everything, coffee to get everybody just right with getting the morning started, and then we get started at 9:00. It's we take a break about every hour and a half, and of course, if you got to use the restroom, you're more than welcome to get up and do that. But you get to ask questions too at the same time. So if you have a question during my teaching, I always open it up in each segment for folks to stand up. They got to come to the microphone so everybody can hear their question, and I'll answer your question. And it's a fun time. I share some of my downfalls that I've had with keeping bees through the years. And I share that with you because I don't want you to do the same that I've done as errors in beekeeping in my past. So we give you a lot of how-tos. We give you a lot of advanced training so that it helps you become a better beekeeper on that side there. We will be holding it at Mountain Sweet Honey. We bring in, we have purchased professional sound systems and all, and it's just a really good time on that there. We break for lunch so you can get to know other beekeepers. We have people from, I believe, Louisiana coming in. We have people from Illinois coming in. And so this is kind of a nationwide event when we do these classes. So the cost is $70 for the first registration, and then $35 for each one thereafter. So if you have a family of 10, it's going to be $70 for the first one, and then $35 for each child or adult thereafter. So feel free to go online, just put boot camp, and it will take you straight, do a search on the, give me just 1 second here, folks.
While he's mentioning or taking a sip of water there, I'll mention, make sure to ask Ray about his encounter with the game warden and the
Oh,
bear
yeah.
that was shot on his property. So that's always a fun story. I'm sure he'll tell the story, but if not, ask Ray. Yeah, tell me that story about the game warden.
Yeah, that one we all have a little sores from, Brian,
A little
and
lighter in the wallet, huh?
yeah, a little lighter, but not much. But anyhow, it is a fun time. $35 for each person after the first registration, and we get done at 4 o'clock. You won't find me dragging anything out when it's 4 o'clock. We'll wrap it up for the day, and this is the first time, Brian, we've done it for the spring. So we may be able to do hive inspections. It all depends on weather. So um, we'll be watching what the forecast is for that there.
And I do want to reiterate the $70 price, but then for each additional person that you bring, it goes down to 35. So you can bring your wife, you can bring your children. Their tickets are only $35 after the purchase of the $70 initial ticket. So it's a great deal.
Brian, we've had kids as young as 7 years old that come. And one thing I will tell you folks is everyone that comes, we hear the drumbeat, and it is, man, did I learn a lot today and that I can use going forward in my bee yard. So if you don't feel it's the best value that you've ever had for beekeeping training, I'll give you your money back. All right. So there you go.
And the best way to sign up?
All right. You go online and to our website, and you'll see a little magnifying glass. Click on that and put boot camp, and it will take you directly to where you can register for that. Or you can call us at 706-886-1322, and one of our folks will be more than happy to get you registered on that.
And I'm going to throw that phone number up there on the bottom of the screen.
Yes.
It says order your bees now. Don't order your bees now by phone. You can write the phone number down and, of course, check with us there in the morning.
Our hours at the call center are 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. And we do begin opening on Saturday at the end of February. Man, we have never opened in February, but we have overwinter nukes that we've already sold out, and we'll be having folks picking up their nukes.
We will announce the winner of the freebies in just a moment, but I want to get to a couple of questions. I know our time is just about up here. William wants to know about ventilation. Should there be a hole at the top in addition to the bottom entrance to allow better airflow? I've seen photos where they drill a small hole in the top of the hive.
I would not drill a hole in the outer cover. That will allow water to seep through and get onto the brood, and you'll lose a lot of brood through that. Airflow, you could stop up. William, I'd have to know a little bit more on where you're located and all to help you, because southern beekeeping is going to be totally different than northern beekeeping. And I would just hate to mislead you on that. If you want to call us tomorrow, we'll help you on that question.
All right. Very cool. Michael might have an emergency, or at least he is addressing emergency situations about putting sugar on a piece of paper. Is that something, if you see your hive, I guess, starting to collapse, that just putting some sugar out would be a good thing, or is that just not the best option?
Well, yes, you can put just regular table sugar out for the bees, but the best thing, because they're going to be very limited on that, and they're going to want water for the digestive part of that. So making a sugar brick would be better than putting sugar just on a piece of paper on that.
Some people like to pick up their bees in person from Mount Sweet Honey, located in Toccoa, Georgia, Northeast Georgia, not too far from the South Carolina border. Kay lives 4.5 hours away.
Yep.
Is that an easy transport? What issues might Kay run into?
All right, Kay. I always have fun with this one for bee season. you might be very, very acclimated to taking care of the bees, but your passengers are not. They're not beekeepers, so they're not used to having a bee or two flying around, because there's always hitchhikers on the outside of these containers, and they'll fly around inside your vehicle if that's where you're going to put your bees. Or you can put them back in the trunk, but make sure there's an open source for ventilation on that. Otherwise, they could overheat and die. If you're going to put them inside, we have a nuke mesh bag that you can put those in, or even a package of bees. You can put that in there, and it will confine all the hitchhikers and any accidents that might happen. They'll be contained inside that mesh bag. So that's really super easy. And you can pre-order those, or you can get them most likely early in the season.
Holly says she's coming to the Beekeepers Boot Camp. We can't wait to
Well,
see
good.
you, Holly. And this was exciting. One of our viewers says, I'm in Gwinnett County and I am ready to start my journey. So the Beekeepers Boot Camp, February the 8th, we think that is a fantastic way to start your beekeeping journey. It might be a little bit of an overload, but I think it's digestible enough that at least you'll know what you're in for.
You got to start somewhere.
You do, and it's nice to get everything just sort of distilled down in a logical, easy to follow way. You could watch everything on YouTube, but that might take you hours to digest and separate the good from the bad. This way, you're taking Ray's, 15 years of experience? 14 years of experience, and you're getting it in a 8-hour course, and you get to meet some really cool beekeepers as well. Are you ready to have me select a winner?
It is time, Brian.
All right. And I'll put his question up here. Jason had wax moths wipe out his bees. Well, one of the ways to address that, Jason, is to win freebies. You are the winner. That's one way to address it. How else might he be able to do so?
All right. Jason, this is one thing that I preach a lot on, is wax moths aren't the problem. They're the last to the party, and that's when most beekeepers find the wax moths, is they're there making the mess. And most likely there was something else that happened. Either we as beekeepers rolled the queen and they were no longer able to lay eggs, or a yellow jacket invasion could be another detrimental. There's just a lot of things that can happen to the hive before the wax moths get there, but they do make a mess.
What would you recommend to Jason in terms of collecting his bees? Is there somebody that he should call in the morning, or what's the best route to take?
You got to get more inspections. And
I'm sorry. I didn't ask my question clearly. Since Jason won the bees, in order to collect the bees, what are the next steps he needs
call
to
us
take?
in the morning and talk to Nikki.
All right. So anytime after 9 Eastern time tomorrow, give us a call and talk with Nikki, and we will certainly take care of that. I want to thank everybody for being with us here tonight. Again, Jason, the winner of the package of bees. If you're not connected with us on Facebook, go ahead and make sure to like us on Facebook, subscribe to the YouTube channel, because we will be doing another live stream coming up shortly. Was talking with Ray about the kickoff to the spring bee season, where we want to do another show dedicated specifically to Varroa and taking care of all of those different pest problems. We like to talk about that several times a year, because it's just so important to make sure that you're keeping the bees healthy. There's so many little predators, and sometimes the big predators, that want to come along and destroy what you've worked so hard on. We don't want that to happen, and getting more education through Buzz TV, a fantastic way to do so. Again, that boot camp that we mentioned, February the 8th, it happens at our location in Toccoa, Georgia, at Mountain Sweet Honey. When you visit mountainsweethoney.com, in the upper right-hand corner, There's a search bar, a little magnifying glass, indicative of this is where you go to start your search. Type in boot camp, and it will lead you right to the page where you can sign up, lock in your tickets to be a part of that. February the 8th, the first ticket, $70, subsequent tickets, $35 a piece. That's going to be a fantastic day. Well, anything that we didn't cover tonight that you'd like to cover before we say goodbye?
Oh, it's a wrap.
All right,
So,
folks.
Folks, thanks for tuning in tonight. And hey, come see us at boot camp. All right. See you soon.